points, I would think anyway.
I mean, there's at least 1 day a week, but it's not as one-to-one as you would think.
Okay. How long do we have you, by the way? Because don't you have a show tonight?
We do, but it is at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific.
See, there you go. Nicely done. Uh, the Apertura, for lack of a better word, is wrapping up in USL Super League. So, what has been going on there from all of the observations? Is it still groups of two? Pretty much, you've got that first group and then the chase pack. What's it like? Is it the leader in a peloton? How's it going?
I mean, yeah, pretty much it's your ones and it's your two up top and then kind of everybody else. I mean, the points look close. I mean, you're looking at Brooklyn, Dallas, Carolina. You look at those three as being kind of close, but to me, I think you look at the class and that's Brooklyn and Dallas being really the class right now. And then you have Carolina, Fort Lauderdale, and Tampa Bay all feel very close to me. And then DC Power confuses me
How so,
because
sir?
I they don't look like a bad team, but they don't look like a good team. Spokane is better than their record shows, and Lexington, I think, is cursed. I just outright think Lexington has just built their stadium on an ancient Indian horse burial ground, and that's why their men's and women's teams are the way that they are.
So it's basically the Kentucky equivalent to Talladega, is what you're saying?
Yeah, basically.
Because for those that do not know that legend, there is there is a legitimate story going around in that particular part of Alabama that the reason that the big one always happens is because when the Native Americans
Mosaniga?
sure.
Mosanoga, the
Okay.
Mosanoga natives,
Yeah.
yes.
So the Native Americans that were on that land were kicked off the land as a part of Trail of Tears, and as they were kicked off the land, they cursed it. And so that is why there's always the big one at Talladega, is because it was built on ancient Native American land that was
Yeah,
cursed.
but now it's just horses that couldn't win races, and they just built I don't know. The Lexington always looks really good, and then just finds some bizarre, depressing way to concede, and then it just never gets back to it. They're just a sad watch because they're not bad. They're just cursed.
Comeback Player of the Year, interesting sponsor, Tiger Bomb, by the way, finalist for Comeback
Course.
Player of the Year. That is spot on marketing right there, brother. Leo Fernandez, Zach Arivo, Aiden Quinn, Zach Zandy. If you were voting, or if you have voted and wish to divulge your vote, how would you vote in this category, sir?
It's kind of hard because in terms of what they mean to their team and just who they were and just seeing them come back, I think Leo Fernandez is a clearer answer. I think that Zach Harivo is the right answer because when he came back, he was just different gravy. I mean, he was arguably the best player on Rhode Island, and he was what kind of propelled them to go forward. I think the right answer is Zach Harivo, but I would listen to Leo Fernandez conversations.
Okay. There are a couple of things in the state of Alabama that I wish to discuss with you. I think did we discuss Ronaldo Damas last time being picked up by Legion?
We did not. We did not. At that point, it was announced, I think, the next day.
Okay. So Ronaldo Damas added by Birmingham Legion. That's a pretty decent step when it comes to putting the ball in the back of the net for 2025.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a guy who scored 48 goals over the last 3 years, and I don't think that includes his playoff goals. You're taking a team that did not convert their chances. And I'm not saying that Ronaldo Damas is this highest conversion rate guy of all time. In fact, I mean, he's kind of not. He takes a lot of shots. He shoots, but that's why he scores. I mean, I think he is the best striker that this team has ever signed, and that includes the likes of Nico Brett and Juan Agudelo. I think that Ronaldo Damas has the talent. He has the current talent, and he has a brain, a soccer IQ way above just 25 years old. I think that he is a piece that was really needed. Now, in order to unlock a guy like that, I think that you're going to need to bring in a 10. I think you're going to need to bring back a Rita Zaire or someone else like that, bring back a Bruno Lapa or someone of that mold. And you're going to need to allow Tyler Pasher and Dawson McCartney, Preston Tapper, Ortega Preston, guys like that to play off of him, because what Ronaldo Damas does really well is he drops in deep, he receives the ball, he plays the ball to somebody else, and as soon as he plays that 1-2, he is gone to the races. Someone needs to play that second ball because he will shoot. He'll do it. He has no qualms. He's not going to try to get closer. He will just do it. So I think that this is the kind of striker that Tommy Stone's been looking for, and it's just an A++ signing.
All right, so since we're talking Legion, let's talk Legion. 13 players only invited back to play in the Reindeer game so far for 25. Signing both Enzo and Tyler Pasher to new contracts, exercising options on Van Okel, Corcoran, and McCartney. Additionally, Spangenberg, defenders Ramis Hamuda, Fanuel Kavita, Moses Mensah, AJ Patterson, Kobe Hernandez Foster, Jake Roof, Preston Taborataka, also set to return. So let's take it in that group. Jarrett Smith had mentioned that when Enzo was being brought back, Jarrett's point is that Enzo just hasn't been, he hasn't taught the dark arts to everybody he needs to teach the dark arts and proper fighting technique to yet. That's why he's being brought back.
It's so funny because he's not as much of that guy anymore. It's real because what he was when he was at Charlotte is kind of a different dark arts. He works the ref more than he does the other stuff. Like, he is just an expert at working the ref, but he doesn't do the extracurriculars. I think that bringing back Enzo is great. I think he's going to have a job in Birmingham as long as he wants to. Same thing for a Matt Van Okel. I think that those are going to be guys that, as long as they want to keep playing, they're going to have jobs. Enzo being back is great. I think there's a conversation that he's not a starter anymore, though. Mm-hmm. I think that if you really, depending on how you want to play this game, I think that the weak link here might be Enzo. And that's nothing against him at all. But judging by 2024, his touch was a little heavier. His passes weren't as crisp. His shot wasn't as clean. And that's just how fine the edges can be. That said, Matthew Corcoran, you said they gave him his extension. This is just like when they announced that Junior Flemings was getting his extension, and 3 weeks later he was off to Europe. You have to get paid somehow, and you don't get paid by letting them become free agents. He's not going to be around next year. No way.
Departures: Alex Croniali, Mikey Lopez, Prosper Kasim, Debo Nwegbo, Stefano Pino, Derek Dodson, Miguel Perez returned to their parent clubs, and Dodson, by the way, is on the MLS expansion list for his parent club. So no Croniali coming back, at least right now. This is as it stands. No Croniali, no Mikey Lopez, Kasim, Nwegbo, and Stefano Pino. So there's some names there. What value do those names have?
I kind of put it together. I put together a video on hammering down a couple of them and one of them was on the departures. And I don't like to go by goals contributed or clearances. I like to go just by minutes, because each position on the field, you have to cover 3,060 minutes in a USL season. And Alex Croniali accounted for 6/8 of those minutes. You look at a guy like a Pino, he covered about 2/3 of those minutes. Same thing for a Prosper Kasim. Demon Wegbo was a little bit less than that. Dodson covered 2/3. I mean, you're missing a lot of minutes there. I think that Alex Croniali and Prosper Kasim are going to be the ones that you miss the most. And Alex Croniali, he is arguably the best defender in Legion history. Him and Fanwell could definitely have that conversation. Prosper scored the first ever goal in Legion history, the first ever goal at home. He scored the first ever goal against the MLS opponent, the first ever goal at a playoff game at home. Any big moment, Prosper Kasim had his left foot on it. That said, people have noticed that his thank you graphic is no longer on the Instagram page. Everybody else's is though, so people are kind of reading them in between the lines. So I'd watch that space a little bit.
Okay, there's a lot of player movement, and I'll probably go rapid fire here just to actually tell you what I'll do is we'll play cliffhanger, and it's like the old Price is Right day. So if I mention a transaction, yell stop and talk about it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it that way. San Antonio re-signs Mitchell Tainer, Shannon Gomez. Switchbacks return Zach Zandy, Juan Tejada.
I mean, I like those. Those are just good signings. Good for them.
Oakland Roots re-sign Neviel Hackshaw and Johnny Rodriguez.
Johnny Rodriguez is huge for them. Huge for Oakland, especially with everything else that they have going on and what they're building around. Johnny Rodriguez going back is massive. If we're talking re-signings for clubs, he is up there for the most impactful re-signing of any player.
Colorado Springs signs Jonas Fjeldberg to a new contract. They also signed Duke Lacroix to a new deal. We mentioned Rhode Island's roster decisions. New Mexico United exercises options on Marco Micheletto as a part of their grouping. The signing of Fernando Delgado by Legion, Mexico Youth International. What sticks out there? Anything?
He's already was in Birmingham. I think we mentioned this before. Who didn't play goalkeeper for Birmingham last year? So, like, I mean, he was one of the many. But they paid for him, and I have a feeling, and this seems like very far off, and I know this may sound dumb. He's either going to be GK1 or GK3. I think no matter what, Spangenberg is going to be GK2. It just all depends if Matt Van Oekel takes on the full time like goalkeeping coach job and is the emergency goalkeeper if needed, or if Delgado is just going to be getting first team minutes and training and just letting him learn underneath while he goes off to like international U18, U19 stuff. But I don't know which one it is.
Sacramento signs Rodrigo Lopez to a new contract. I think that's big. Alex Dixon re-signs with Monterey Bay. Lexington is a part of their growth. In addition to re-signing Cameron Lancaster and Natez Juve, they re-signed Yannick Yankum as a part of that. Battery re-signed Daniel Kuzemka to a multi-year extension in net.
That's a big one. That is a big one, especially with Grinwiz retiring. I don't know if Kuzminska is going to be the GK1, but I think they're going to give him every opportunity to be. I think in terms of his career, that's a big deal. And he's safe hands in net that they can trust him. I think that is a huge deal for Charleston.
New Mexico exercised the contract option on Alex Tambakis. To me, that's probably one of the bigger no-brainers in the history of Earth. Forrest Lasso gets a new deal with Tampa Bay.
I mean, he is arguably the best defender to ever play in the USL. 3-time defender of the year, all three with different teams, all three in different eras. I mean, you get the late teens, Charleston Battery. You get the late teens in FC Cincinnati. You get him with Nashville FC in the 2000s or the 2020s.
Yep.
Where he wins it again, and then he was a finalist for the Rowdies again. He's lost a step. He's not the same guy. He's always been super aggressive, and he's always been a card machine, and he's lost that step and whatever. When you are working with a talent that's as good as him, he is legitimately one of the best defenders to ever grace the USL. That's huge for a Tampa Bay team that was not always great, especially with him losing Jordan Dirty.
Team that you're really high on in USL League One, or that was in USL League One. I guess they're an un-team right now. Bruno Rendon goes to Indy 11. I thought this was a sneaky good pickup for Indy 11, getting League One Defender of the Year, Bruno Rendon.
Unless I'm missing something, I think he was the top right back option across all of the leagues in League One or Championship. If you're looking for a right wing back who can get up and down the field, you don't get one better than him. I think there's a conversation of a Stephen Payne out of Ford Madison. I think you obviously can look at a Derek Dodson who knows what's going on with him with Minnesota United. Trevor Amon was just re-signed by Tulsa. Trevor Amon. I was right. And like you're seeing a lot of stuff like that. I think if you're looking at I'm going to get the best right back free agent, I mean, I think it's Bruno Rendon. I think it's an incredible signing for Indy.
Figured you'd be happy with that one. Detroit City gets Maury Doner from Monterey Bay, and they also bring in Shane Wheat to their defensive core. Taylor Davila signs a multi-year contract extension with Lou City. Smart move for Lou City to keep the band together as long as humanly possible. Switchbacks bring Matt Mahoney into a contract extension and reacquired Yosuke Hanya on loan from Rapids 2 for 25.
That one's huge. Hanya is huge. I think they're the one that's going to get overslept a little bit is Donner for Detroit City. I think he was also a pretty good right back option. Um, I keep asking teams that sign him to make a tifo or a chant that's like "Ain't no party like a Donner party." Just
Wow, careful. Don't encourage a covered wagon or anything like that, or don't unleash that tifo on a cold day.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that at Keyworth on a cold day.
Cold day and Keyworth. Not want to throw that one out there.
You don't want to have that kind of a party. There were a couple. Kenneth Hoban signs his first year Academy product deal, signs a deal with El Paso. Kyle Adams gets a new multi-year contract with Lou City to go along with Davila. Davila and Adams, once again, you're keeping the band together as long as humanly possible here, so no real surprises there.
I think there's another one. There's a couple of other that you're looking at that I think are big deals. You're looking at Edward Kizza going from Pittsburgh to Indy. I think that one's a big deal. I also think Anthony Siaha is a big deal for Monterey Bay, which Monterey Bay is just getting rid of everybody right now. But I think that Siaha is a very big deal for Indy. He's about as a 1-to-1 to a Hunter Schultz as you're going to get. Big body, but he is aggressive and coming for crosses. He has a good spring in his step. His distribution is pretty good. Can get down to the ball pretty well. I think his only downside is his ability to cover across the line, and it doesn't really cost him goals, but it cost him a clean catch. What should be a clean catch turns into a corner. But those are the same thing you dealt with Hunter Schultz. And I think that while the ceiling is not as high for Siaha, I think the floor is much higher for him than it was for Hunter Schultz. So I think Indy is going to be very happy with that pickup.
And we had Steve Livingston on for a 1v1 where they broke down the decision where they're going to be playing at the University of North Florida. They're pairing up with one of the big academies down there. So off the field, it's mixed bag because Brooklyn pushed back another year. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Okay, so Brooklyn is 26. Sporting Club Jacks seems to be making inroads. They're going to have a home now. They're looking for Super League to come in first, then USL Championship to come in after that. And it was interesting to catch up with Steve to discuss what's going on with Super League. And you get the natural rivalry with Sporting Club Jacks that's attached to Fort Lauderdale and Tampa Bay coming out of the block. So I thought that was really interesting with the first-year franchise in USL Super League for the team in Jacksonville coming on board.
Yeah, the Super League is doing something that I think that a lot of US soccer's want to do, and I think is what League One tried to do, but didn't really do as well at first, and it's let's really capture the Florida market. Like, Super League is like, okay, we are going to have Florida rivalries because really it's like, okay, Orlando and Tampa Bay hated each other, then Orlando left, and then Miami and Orlando they're supposed to hate each other and they kind of hate each other, but Orlando has hatred that flows a little bit north, right? And Miami's just like, well, everybody hates us because we do sketchy things with money, but they don't really have any true Florida derbies. And I think that the Super League is doing a really good job in cornering that market. I think that they are doing better than just about any other professional league in the US right now.
League One news, FC Naples signed their first ever player, and it's Jake Onan, 2023 Young Player of the Year, spent his last 2 seasons in League One with Lex and Forward Madison. So FC Naples dives into the deep end and bringing in their first player.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good signing. I find it interesting that it's their first one because most teams go with the he came from our own backyard, that which is what Avialta did with Miguel Ibarra.
Right.
It's like we got a guy from our own backyard. This is a guy who grew up 3 minutes down the street, or there was one time he flew over the state, and that's home for him now. I mean, this is a dude from England, right? I think that it's a smart signing. I think it's a good signing, and I think it tells one of two things. One, they think that this is a guy that they can sell on and he can be a centerpiece,
Yeah.
or B, they think this is a guy that can hold on to for a long time and make him a part of the fabric of this club.
Speaking of sell on, we go to Tormenta. Jackson Corey
Yeah.
is picked up by Tacoma Defiance in the Seattle system. That's a great move for Tormenta, once again, to continue to let everybody know about their player development and their player selections. But for Defiance to grab Jackson Corey, the 2023 League One Young Player of the Year, that's a big move on a couple of different levels.
Yeah, I mean, undisclosed fee, those are my favorite kind of fees.
Yes.
I look, this is huge. I think a lot of people assumed it was just a free agent signing. I love this. Um, I was a guy that was banging the drum for him to come to Birmingham. I think a lot of people who were in the championship were banging the drum for him to come to their club.
Yes.
I think he is just an unbelievable talent that I mean, I think he's someone who can be a superstar for club and country, like for a long time. He's someone who can legitimately make it up the MLS pipeline and be a star in MLS. He's another shining example of what Tormenta does and does so well. I think that this is just another little star on the badge. This is just another check mark of like, see what we do. If you're a young player in the US and you're someone who doesn't have that certainty of going to an MLS club or being a starter at championship club, I don't know why you would go anywhere else besides Tormenta at this point, because not only are they going to let you play, they'll sell you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll give you your opportunity. They're not going to hold on, right? And I think that it's really, really cool, and it's great for Tormenta and great for Corey.
Greenville announced their initial round of transactions. Evan Lee, Sebastian Velasquez, and Leo Castro will return, having been under contract. They're under contract for 25. One of the big names, though, Liam McKinnon's contract expired. So, have you heard anything about McKinnon's future, where it could be? Is he coming back? Because that's a big miss for Triumph.
I do know where he's going, and it's not back to Greenville, but boy, is it a good fit.
Okay.
Boy, is it a good fit. I think that if you are someone who has been following the leagues around for a while, whether it be MLS, USL Championship, League One, etc., you are going to love where Liam McKinnon ends up, and I'm excited to see it.
Okay, so when will we know, sir?
Usually if I find out, it usually gets announced within a week of me finding out. So I would say look for it within the next few days.
Okay. A couple of comments from Julian Shakya. I can't wait for the Battery to start signing players, and he is saying that they should sign Garner from Greenville.
Yeah, I mean, I like Garner. I think that I'm assuming he does mean Christian Garner. I think it kind of depends. Christian Garner and you had Gunther Rankenberg kind of trading positions for a while.
Yeah.
Both are free agents. So I don't know who's the better player, who's in the better form, who's a better fit for Charleston. I like both of those players a lot. If you want to bring in one of them and say, hey, sit underneath Kuzminska for a year, or hey, he can be your GK2 for a year and just see what they have, I would be pretty happy with that situation. Both Garner and Rankenberg are really, really good goalkeepers.
Okay, so hopefully I haven't burned your pipes out for the show tonight. What can folks expect on the USL Show tonight at 9 Eastern?
A little bit of Super League stuff. We are talking about Super League, the matches that were this last week. A lot of fun Super League action, and we're doing a whole lot more of breaking down the free agent signings and where they've gone, and trying to paint a full picture of who's available, who's not, who's on everybody's big boards, and all that fun stuff.
All right. Well, once again, on at the USL Show, all of their platforms, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 in God's time zone, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific. It is Kaler and the Band of Thousands for at the USL Show. Thank you for dropping by after school, my friend. Thank you for being flexible. We will catch up with you next time. Have a great show tonight.
See you later.
There he goes. That's Kaler. Kaler's going to go home because he's at school right now. And